Here's Miss Wired. I don't believe she got a Zoom notice. All right, well, she's here by Zoom.
Looks like the notice did provide a Zoom link here.
Miss Wired, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning to you. It's 10 a.m. It's actually almost on the tick. It's time for a zoning civil infraction formal hearing in 3 cases, the matter of Ray Ann Wired. File number 222021 is a miscellaneous property violation in Florence Township. File 222039 is a property maintenance violation, civil infraction in Florence Township. And file 222040 is a zoning violation, civil infraction for Florence Township. These matters were charged under a previous file number, and there was some issue with the charging, and they were dismissed and restarted. The court dealt with these issues, some of these issues are the same parcel of property, 7 Lutz Road, back in 2021. We do have Mr. Ostoff, the zoning administrator from Florence Township is here. We also have counsel on behalf of the township. Mr. Ostoff, what's your title for Florence Township? I've forgotten.
A zoning administrator and zoning compliance administrator.
Let me go to the computer screen. As I indicated, there are 3 tickets, and it got dismissed and recharged. So let me look at these. 222021. I have to blow these tickets up. It's kind of hard for me to read on the screen.
I have extra copies, Your Honor, if you'd like them.
Yeah, that might be helpful. That isn't any bigger, so I don't know. We'll try.
How much better?
It's more a reflection of my eyesight than it is all right. In the first ticket, it was issued on October 17th. It alleges that residents are currently residing in a tent, approximately the size of 10 by 10, requires a minimum of 1,300 square feet. So that is the first citation. 2239 222040 2039 are in non-base. That's not very helpful. Darn it. I'll just look at your tickets. 222039 alleges that non-habitable, deteriorated, and dilapidated building originally intended as a residence. Fine, a violation of the ordinance. 222040, litter, rubbish, junk, storage, and lack of proper disposal of raw sewage and gray water from live-in camper. That's alleged to be 928. So 222039 and 2040 are alleged to be on 928. And living in the tent charge is 1017. We had been through this, as I mentioned, back in 2021. Ms. Wired had a camper on this piece of property, and so we didn't have anywhere else to go. I don't think that case has ever been quite resolved with payment. Mr. Porter, what's the status here today?
Of the 2021 action or these 3 citations?
These 3 citations.
So these 3 citations are a result of an inspection that took place on 9/28. As the court mentioned, there was some issues regarding these citations causing them to be reissued and the prior citations voided. But that was a clerical error on the prior citations, not any issues with the facts and circumstances surrounding the citations themselves. We have photos to be prepared to submit into evidence from 9/28 depicting all of the allegations, including the tent that the defendant was living in, as well as the trash and litter that was throughout the property, and photos of the residence that has fallen into a dilapidated condition and is currently uninhabitable. We also have photos that were taken on January 23, depicting very much the same conditions as were taken on 9/28. And Mr. Paul Ossoff, who conducted the inspection on 9/28, as well as took the photos both on 9/28 and January 23, is here to testify if necessary.
This matter was originally set for an informal hearing, which would have been before the magistrate. The plaintiff township asked it to be set for a formal hearing, and there's been probably no discussion between Ms. Wired and the township. Ms. Wired, it doesn't look like you're in a camper now. Where are you right now?
And I'm at my daughter's house right now for court, but I'm bouncing back and forth from the property to a hotel when I have the money to stay in a hotel.
All right, let's put everybody under oath. Mr. Ossoff, would you raise your right hand? Ms. Wired, would you raise yours? You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Ms. Wired, who else lives there?
Right now, it's just me and my husband that stay out at the house.
All right. We had discussed this 2 years ago about the fact that you can't live in a tent on this parcel of property and you can't live in a camper on this parcel of property without a proper hookup. And your position was, I don't have anywhere else to go. The township has spent thousands of dollars on this, and we're in the same position we are when we started. But I have to see what the current status is. The other attorneys have been doing this by laptop and screen sharing, but we're going to go back to the old-fashioned way of paper photographs, which are going to be hard for you to see, Ms. Wired. But we'll do the best we can. Mr. Ossoff, why don't you come up in the witness box?
Your Honor, for the 9/28 photos, I do have digital versions of those. Unfortunately, I only have hard copies of the January 23rd. If you would like, I can sign in while I'm here, if that makes it easier to bring up the 9/28 photos.
That would.
Would you like me to just share my screen, though?
Yes, thank you for your expertise. Ms. Wired, I'm not sure what device you're on, but you should be. Are you on a laptop or a telephone?
Laptop.
All right, you should be able to see these photos.
All right.
We all have to go like this.
Yeah, let me see if I can just get my mouse out. Make it a little easier for myself.
Well, you're certainly more technologically capable than me or many of the lawyers that appear in here. The young lawyers are all good at this. Some of the old ones, not so much.
Okay.
There we go.
Let's see if I can zoom out here a little bit. There we go. All right.
All right, go ahead. Mr. Ossoff, you're under oath. Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Paul Ossoff.
Spell your last name for us.
Osthoff.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
All right. So to begin with, Mr. Ossoff, I would like to just go through the photos briefly to authenticate them for the record, and then we can go into the detail as to what's being depicted. So do you recognize the photo that's displayed on the screen right now?
Yes.
Okay. What do you recognize it as?
It was intended to take a picture of the condition of the house. There's some litter scattered about. And,
Well, before we get into what's actually in the photograph, is this a depiction of Mr. Wyatt or Miss Wired's property?
yes,
And is it a fair and accurate representation of the property at the time it was taken, which is, I see a date on the photograph of September 28th, 2022?
yes,
And did you take this photo?
yes,
We're gonna go to the next photo. Is this also a photograph of the property, Miss Wired's property?
yes,
Did you take this photo?
yes,
Was it taken on September 28th, 2022?
yes,
Is it a fair and accurate representation of the subject property
yes,
at the time it was taken?
yes.
Same question here is this a depiction of Miss Wired's property?
Yes,
And just for the record, Miss Wired's property is Lutz Road, Constantine, Michigan. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And all the photos where I referenced Miss Wired's property, that was the property that you're referring to.
Yes,
Did you take this photograph?
yes, I did.
Was it taken on September 28th,
Yes,
2022? And is it a fair and accurate representation of the subject property on that date?
yes,
Was this a photograph taken of the property designated Miss Wired's property?
yes.
Was taken on September
Why don't we
28th?
just do this all at once? I'm gonna go through these tedious questions.
Absolutely,
16
right.
times.
So I'm gonna let you take a look at this photo. And I'll show you this photo. You know, if I'm scrolling too quickly. And there's this photo. All right. Are these all photos taken at Miss Wired's property?
Yes,
Are they all taken by you?
yes,
Are they all taken on September 28th, 2022?
yes, 2023, yes,
And are they all fair and accurate representations of the subject property
yes,
at the time they were taken?
yes,
All right, so let's scroll back up to the beginning here. So why don't you tell me what's going on in this photograph?
I attempted to take a picture of the house and of course some litter that was around it.
And the photograph has some markings on the bottom indicating citation 21 and citation 20. Is that right?
Yes,
Did you add those?
yes, I did.
Sorry, I've lost my notes here. And citation 20, what is that in reference to? I have here that it's referencing a deteriorated and dilapidated building citation.
That's correct.
Did you inspect the building that's depicted in this photograph?
I wasn't allowed to go inside it. I could only visualize what I saw from the outside.
Okay, and what did you visualize from the outside?
The house had deteriorated. It's been that way for quite a while. From what I could tell from the outside and looking around, it appeared there's no floor on the inside and that the walls had been taken down.
All right. And do you know, was anyone residing in that building?
Not that I could tell.
And citation 21, which the court already put on the record, was relating to litter, trash, and junk violation. Point out to the court the litter, trash, and or junk that was in violation of the ordinance in this photograph.
As I said, I took this one just to try to depict the house at the time, but there were some items that were up against the house, which are shown on the picture.
Okay, I don't know if you see my cursor. All right.
Yes,
All right. Was that considered in violation of the ordinance?
yes.
Was there any purpose for that? What appears to be a container of some sort?
Not that I'm aware of.
Now, Ms. Fire, I'll give you an opportunity to tell your side of the story. Try to restrain yourself.
Okay, I'm going to direct your attention to the next photograph, which you have marked on here is in reference to citation number 19 that the court has already indicated was a ordinance violation regarding residing in a tent. Is this the tent that Ms. Wired was residing in?
Yes, at the time.
Are you aware of how long she had been residing in that?
Prior to that, probably most of the summer, from my recollection.
Was there any habitable residence on the property?
No,
There's a vehicle depicted in the photograph as well. Is that either Miss Wired or Mr. Wired's vehicle?
I assume so. Yes.
Was it licensed?
Yes.
All right, moving on to the next photograph here. Appears that there's a trailer depicted in this photograph.
At the time these pictures were taken, we had visited the property in order with our intent to abide by the court order to have the trailer, that camper, an enclosed trailer, and several other items removed. And was escorted by the county sheriff and the health department. And my intent on this picture, not only to show the litter and the trash, but to verify that at that time the camper was still there. And since that time, the camper has been removed.
And the prior order that you're
Removed by
referencing.
who?
By Mr. and Mrs. Wire.
Okay.
So just to be clear, the trailer was removed, but was any of the trash and debris that we can see in this photo removed?
From this last set of photos, which I assume we'll review later on, you will see that there is still some of the trash and litter on the property.
Okay, but the trailer was obviously removed after this photo was taken.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And the court order being referenced, was that issued in July of 2022?
Yes.
So it was, the trailer was not removed for at least the 3 months in between when that order was
that's
issued
correct.
and when this photo was taken.
That's correct.
All right, moving on to this next photo. Here's to depict the same trailer, is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
With some litter leaning against it on the side.
Okay. Where my cursor's at, is that
Yes.
the litter that you're referring to?
Yes.
All right.
And moving on to this photo. Appears to be a broader depiction of the trailer, is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Same trailer?
Yes.
And fair that say that this debris that is around the trailer here, is that what you're referencing?
Yes.
In your citation 21 as litter, trash, and junk?
Yes.
Appears that there's a vehicle, a second vehicle on the property at the end of this trailer,
Yes.
where my cursor is. Do you know if that was a licensed vehicle?
It was licensed. I'm not sure who the owner was.
And do you know if it was operational?
I don't know that.
And the final photo here from September 28th, appears that this is the depiction of the tent.
Yes.
It also appears that there seems to be something back in these woods. Can you explain what that is?
I believe that is what used to be a pop-up trailer, I believe. That has been sitting there ever since this whole thing started.
And when did this whole thing start? When you refer to this whole thing?
Probably two and a half years ago.
Okay. So,
and at the time when I first visited the property, it was reported they were living in that camper, and since then it's just deteriorated and dilapidated.
So it's not in a functional condition?
It is not, no.
Okay. All right. Did you have any conversations with either Mr. or Miss Wired at the time that you visited the property? On September 20th.
There was more conversation between them and the deputies that were there.
All right, well, do you know who the people are in that picture?
It's Mr. and Mrs. Wired.
All right. Fair enough, Your Honor. I wasn't questioning on the photo. I just happened to leave that one out. But,
Move down.
On September 28th, were Mr. and Mrs. Wired present on the property?
Yes, they
Did
were.
it appear that they were living in the tent on that date?
They were in the tent when we visited the property that morning, and they came out from the tent.
Okay. All right. Did you inquire as to why they were not living in the home that was on the property?
I didn't have an opportunity. It was a very confrontational atmosphere when we showed up at the property.
Okay. All right. I have no further questions on these photographs, Your Honor. Given that these are being brought up by Zoom,
May I have the actual paper copies of those?
Yep, absolutely.
They're going to move their admission?
Yes, I will move the court to admit those into evidence, given testimony as to their validity by Mr. Osha. Do not have them pre-marked.
No, that's fine. We'll admit them as exhibit number 1. There's 6 photographs and is admitted for purposes of this civil infraction hearing. Get a sticker for it.
Now, I'm going to leave the photos up, Your Honor, in case Ms. Wired has testimony regarding them. But
all right, Ms. Wired, do you have any questions about any of these photographs or any of the testimony of Mr. Ostov so far?
I don't think so, but I do have some stuff to say about the photos that are up.
All right. What would you like to say about it?
Okay, in the very first photo that he showed,
Yes.
where where he circled that thing in the yard in the very beginning, and he was like, he doesn't know what that is, and that, you know, it's just a container. He knows that's my dog's doghouse.
That
is a doghouse right there. Yeah.
Okay.
So now the pictures of the side of the house, I don't understand why if he's saying my house is in such disarray, why he only took a picture of the side of the house. The whole front of the house, the whole other side of the house was all available for him to take pictures. The walls are not torn out from the house.
That picture isn't very helpful. It shows a picture of a dog kennel, some trees, and a partial part of
a back porch.
All right, well,
Yeah.
That's what we got. So, all right, do you have any comment on any of the other pictures? All right, well, let's then go. Are you going to go with the more current pictures?
yeah, I will in just a moment, Your Honor, but just as a way of response.
Middleton, excuse me.
Just a minute.
Can you please?
Yes.
Can you recuse yourself from this case, please?
Well, let's talk about that. First of all, you don't call me Middleton. Maybe if you see me at Myers, you
I'm
can.
sorry,
Here
Judge Middleton.
I'm Judge
sorry.
Middleton. Why do you wish me to recuse myself?
Because I have stuff to say and you don't want to listen because you're like, well, we're just going to go move on. This whole thing is just turned into a big 3-ring circus. And it's just to a point where I believe when I come in to see you, that it doesn't matter what I have to say, you're going to side with them anyways.
Well, that's not, many people feel that way, and we have more than one 3-ring circus a week. But I don't know you other than through the context of this. The reason they prevailed in the earlier cases is because they proved their case beyond a preponderance of evidence, which is what's necessary in a civil infraction. Your problem is you just want to do what you want to do, and they don't want you to do it. This looks like I should be, it looks like, I don't know what it looks like, but I'm embarrassed to have this as a representation of what life looks like in St. Joseph County, Michigan. But the answer is no, I refuse and decline to recuse myself. You can ask the other judge, Judge Pattison, you have a right to appeal my denial of your motion to recuse myself. You're right. I know a lot about this, and I was very disappointed to see this. We went through all this, and it looks like we went backwards. And well, let me ask you this. What do you want other than the township to just go away and leave you alone?
I would like the permit to put the roof on my house that I've been asking for 2 years. That's what I would like out of this. If I could just get the permit for my roof to get my roof replaced, I could moved back into my house and this would be all over and said and done with. This could have been done with 2 years ago. If OSTOF would have just let me have that.
Let's assume that's true. Well, we haven't gotten there yet. All right, so first of all, we got to deal with your request for me to recuse myself. You didn't file any formal motion, you just blurted out in the middle of the hearing. So A, I decline to recuse myself based on your request that I'm somehow impartial because I ruled on their behalf previously. I ruled on their behalf because I felt they had sufficient evidence, already due to pay some fines and costs and restitution, which I don't believe have ever been paid. All right, so that's denied. You have a right to appeal that to the other judge. Do you wish to have Judge Pattison hear my denial of your request to recuse myself?
Yes, please.
Well, I guess I don't have any discretion. I want you to file something in writing as to your reasons why I should be recused. This is a civil infraction hearing. It's not a misdemeanor. You can't go to jail for this. It would have been an informal hearing in front of the magistrate, but they asked for a formal hearing. Let me ask this. Mr. Osthoff, you were just there this week. Is anyone on this property, living on this property in January?
It doesn't appear as of last Tuesday there was anybody on the property. I didn't see any type of tracks or anything like that.
Your Honor, we do have photographs from January 23 that depict that the tent is still erected.
All right, so the camper's been removed. There doesn't appear to anybody living there presently, so it's not terribly urgent. All right, Ms. Wire.
Judge, if I may.
Yes.
I would put in my formal objection to stay this matter so that Judge Pattison can rule on the request to recuse yourself. Rather, given that this was a oral request, while we were already well within the proceeding, I would request that the court allow this current proceeding to continue, subject to review by Judge Pattison on the motion to recuse yourself. All the parties are here. It would be prejudicial to the township to have to reappear, given that this issue has been going on since 2021, and there's already an order in place that has not been complied with.
All right, I certainly understand where you're coming from. It would be a pocket delay for everyone to say, I want you to recuse yourself. You've been here for 42 years. I've seen you 16 times, and you can't be fair because you found me guilty 14 previous times. That isn't grounds for recusal. She hasn't stated any other than some sort of vague reference that I can't be fair about it. As I indicated, I found her to be responsible because I felt the proof supported it. And these pictures aren't looking too good. As I said, I'm disappointed that we're still in this circumstance. She's turned it around and saying it's all the township's fault because they won't give me a permit to put a roof on the house. That house needs more than a roof, although it is a very poor picture of it. I've seen pictures of it before. Doesn't have a floor.
Has a floor.
So, but I don't want to do
Okay,
this twice.
That's just conjectural. You don't know if it has a floor in it or not, and it does have a floor in it.
All right. Well, his testimony was that he didn't think it had a floor, but I haven't seen the inside of it.
I'd also point out on the record that the testimony hasn't been completed yet, Your Honor.
I understand. So this certainly is an inconvenience and a nuisance. She hasn't paid the last set of court-ordered obligations. She hasn't complied with the previous court order, and this runs up the bill for the township, which is already substantial. But you have 10 days to file a motion to recuse me in writing. I'm not just going to roll this case over to Judge Pattison on 5 minutes notice and said, I want to recuse him. And then I will reset the hearing. Judge Pattison can make a decision either ex parte or make a record regarding it. But there's nobody in there. It's January. We're not going to rectify anything at this point, probably until spring, and the trailer's gone. In the last case, there was a compliance order. I'm not sure what happened. That was in the spring. You called in July, said you were unhappy with them and you wanted a consultation. You didn't make any payments. I did a consultation. You paid $40. You were going to pay $10 a month. And you were back at the property in June. They gave you more time to come into compliance. You got an amended compliance order on July 5th. I signed the compliance order. I came in from vacation to sign it. And you called. I'm not even sure why we're here. We had the earlier compliance order. You didn't like it then. In July, they said, well, you can appeal it to the circuit court. And we got a motion in order to show cause. And you stopped paying.
My payments are paid up until April.
Okay, good.
Because I know this is a slow time on my year for my job, so I paid up to April for when we will pick back up.
Okay.
So I'm in compliance of paying the $10 a month.
All right, very good. Yeah, it looks like it got reinstated in November. So there's already a compliance order in effect. The township chose to issue 3 brand new citations for the same stuff we dealt with in the earlier case. I thought the earlier order could have just taken care of it, but here we are again with $300, 3 cases, which would each have a $500 fine. Anyway, I don't believe I need to recuse myself. I don't believe Judge Pattison is going to believe I need to recuse myself. I certainly don't think he wants to grab this tiger by the tail. I see these pictures and I feel like I should be seeing Burt Reynolds, Ned Beatty, and Ronnie Cox in the background someplace, but I will give you 10 days to file your motion to recuse me, and we'll be set in front of Judge Pattison, and we'll probably get back to this in February or March. If you don't file any such motion, I will simply reschedule the matter for further hearing. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Which basically means we didn't accomplish very much today. I don't know why you would want to leave your tent pitched all winter long, but that's up to you. At some point, I'm going to order you take that down and clean this place up. Mr. Osthoff, I'm not going to go any further. I'm interested to know what the issue is with her getting any further building permit. But since there's a motion for me to recuse myself on the floor, I won't address it. All right, that's all the farther we're going to get today. I apologize, Mr. Osthoff. You were doing a competent job presenting all the evidence. Defendant, just in the middle of the proceeding, raised this issue, which essentially just stalls us out. All right, Ms. Wired, my previous order is in effect. Nobody's to be living on this property. And there's already an order in place to do what they want them to do. So here we are. All right.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I know I already placed my objection on the record, but I would further request the court, given that we're already here, that you
I understand.
judgment.
I don't like this a bit. I think it's a bad ploy by the defendant to delay things. I don't like it. I don't have to like it. I'm not going to lose my temper. I certainly understand why you're frustrated. You can go back and blame it on the judge. All right. Ms. Wired, you got your marching orders. Yes, it's a slippery slope, but I'll allow it. I don't think he's going to grant it. I'm not even sure she's going to file it, but we'll deal with it if she does.
Yeah, I don't believe that there was.
We're still on a live feed, so I don't want to say anything right here. All right, I apologize. I did receive these exhibits, and they will be made part of the record.
I'm sorry.
I did receive that as exhibit 1.
Yes.
All right, Judge Pattison will be thrilled when I tell him about this. All right, I'm sorry. We'll be in recess.
Are we adjourned, Your Honor?